like I said, it is good to see each and every one of you that's here. We are in the Luke, the 2nd chapter, beginning there at verse 19, going through 51. This is the day after Christmas. That's buddy here. And I wanted to read this right here. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth, and was subject to them, and his mother kept all these sayings in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom, stature, and in favor with God and man. That's 51 and 52 of Luke. Now that's a beautiful story in itself. The stars, the angel choir, the announcement of the worship of the shepherds, the coming of the wise men with their precious gifts. Then, for 12 years, there is absolute silence. We forget that. For 12 years, there is absolute silence after these things took place. Now, it's a remarkable story of the visit of the Christ child at 12 years of age to the temple in Jerusalem. Then followed by 18 years of absolute silence. 18 years of silence. The day after Christmas, when the angels have gone, the stars have faded away, and when the wise men have returned from their home, and the shepherds are back keeping watch over their flock, and the stars and the song and the angels are all memories. We come back to a day of humdrum, the humdrums of life. You know, it's a wonderful thing to experience, to have an experience that we have with God. It's a great thing. There is no one who has ever been saved that does not remember when he was saved, how he was saved, where it took place at, all these things. We might not know the time and a few things like that old song there, but we do remember those things about it. And then it seems like they lift us up to where we should be. But we can hear the angels sing when we're up there. You know, years ago there was a song that was sung by a lady. The God of the mountain is still God of the valley. And that's what we want to stay on the mountain. We forget what's in the valley. Humdrum, everyday life. So there's always this dull, dry, dreary days that follows those experiences. They just do. They just come. That's the way we do. Now, all of us remember Elijah. Elijah was up on Mount Carmel, and gathered all those false prophets and prayed for fire to come down, and the flames came down and took everything. And then remember that it had not rained for 3.5 years. And Elijah prayed, and the rain, sitting up on the mountain, seeing his servant up on the mountain, looked, said, "You see anything coming?" "No, don't see a thing." He said, "I see a hand the size of a hand, a little cloud, about the size of a hand out there." He said, "That's all right. There'll be plenty of rain, abundance of rain coming." Now, after those things, we find out that he took off and started running in his chariot alongside of Ahab. That's where Christians get in trouble, when they're following along behind Ahab. That's in 1 Kings 18. And then, after he done all that, remember what happened? Jezebel told him, said, "I'm going to kill you like I did the prophets, that you killed my prophets." Remember, he killed about 450 of them. And Jezebel told him, and Elijah took off. Can you imagine, just from the height of Mount Carmel and the fire falling from heaven and the rain coming and all this, and then he's flight, and Elijah prays, sits down under a juniper tree wanting to die. He prays, God, just take my life. I'm ready. I want to die right now. Look what I have. Remember the three disciples that the Lord took, the three of that inner circle of disciples, took them up on the Mount of Transfiguration, and there are these three disciples, Peter, James, and John, and the divinity of Christ shines through his flesh. Then you have Elijah and Moses there with him, there on the mountain. And remember, the disciples said, let's build 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Elijah, and one for Moses. They come off the mountain, went down to the mountain. There was a boy that had evil spirits, and they couldn't even get rid of him. Couldn't get rid of the evil spirits. So, I wish we could stay on the mountain, but we don't. All you have to do is look at Moses and think of the 1,000 things that we could have asked him. Think of the 1,000 things that we could ask Elijah. Think of the things that we could have seen when we seen the face of the Lord. But all of that has to go down in the valley, and when we do, we go down there, always we hear the cries of those around about. Now, I knew a man that went to church here, and he accepted the Lord. Oh, he was ecstatic with that experience. But then after a few while, he come to the point, he said, well, I ain't saved. That experience that I had is gone. Everything's gone. See, in the book there of Luke, Luke 51, it said, and he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject unto them. That is after Christmas, after the star, after the angels, after the angelic host, and after the visit of the shepherd, and after the coming of the wise men with their gifts. After these marvelous story of Christmas, there he is down in Nazareth, doing in a poor condition. If you read about Nazareth and they said where he was at, it was very poor. Remember, he was a very poor person. Jesus was. And it said that he made ox gourds. And it said he made the best ox gourds that ever was worn by a set of ox. I knew a guy that came from Oklahoma and drove a team of ox. Most people don't know what, when you say drove a team of ox, they don't have no idea what you're even talking about. This time, those things had passed, gone. But he said he drove a team of ox, you could say a team of cattle, and drove them from Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, to Williamsburg, Kentucky. Now that's a long ways. He was just a young man at the time. So you can figure out how old he is. He's been dead for 50 years. So you can figure talking about that. Here he was, Jesus, as at the beach, subject to those that were there. See, that kind of religion has in it a deep valley and a vast plains to it. That there is such a thing as life. In this pilgrim, we don't stay on the mountaintop. It's a humdrum. It's a religion for the ordinary. That is a religion of waiting patiently, doing ho-hum things and tasks that we are to do. It's a religion of waiting, praying, studying, preparing. It is a religion of infinite patience. We don't always live on the mountain. Our faith before God is many times just one of ordinary waiting patience. It's not the heavenly bliss of the time. It's one of just living a quiet and humble, patient life. Let me illustrate it this way. I think this would be the best way to illustrate our faith. It would come, then the promise of the Lord's return. Anybody that reads the New Testament, you will have immediate sense that all of those New Testament Christians in the first generation believed devoutly that Jesus was coming back to earth in their lifetime. They all believed that. You run across it all the time. Let a man who is married and be as though he is not married. That's what Paul said. Let a man who is not married be as though he is married. Paul. The Lord, and he said, for time is at hand. The Lord is coming. And however, you are just as happy in that assignment, for Jesus is coming soon. Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is the man that keeps these words of this prophecy. The whole message is like that. Now, you read in the New Testament, you immediately sense a part of all those first Christians, century Christians, that Jesus was coming in their lifetime. That's why Paul wrote 1st and 2nd Titus. Paul preached to them that Jesus was coming soon. And they went on, and he went on that missionary journey. And at Athens, they sent word to him saying, you said Jesus is coming, but some of the members have already died. Now, what's going to happen to them when you come back? What are these who have died? What are they going to do? You know, if we look at the answer to the question, if the Lord is coming, he wrote 2 Thessalonians. There is no doubt about anyone can sense when you read the New Testament, these first century Christians believed, expected Jesus to return in their lifetime. He didn't come. He didn't come in the first century. He didn't come in the second century. He didn't come in the 5th century. He didn't come in the 3rd century. He didn't come in the 19th century, the 20th century. And still, this is the 21st century, and he's still not come. But Paul said, and he hasn't come, he said there, here's the promise. Paul called it the blessed hope. Well, I'll tell you something else. A lot of these theologians, by uncounted numbers, say this is all a fantasy. It's all wishful thinking. That's all it is. You know, there shall come in the latter days scoffers, walking after their own lust, saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things are continued as they were. They were from the beginning of creation. A vain, a futile hope. So full of expectation, so believing that the Lord would come in their day, but there's no coming, and nothing's left but futile despair. That's what they would say. Now, our faith in the Lord, he hasn't come, but it makes no difference. I believe in the intimate return of the Lord. He can come anytime, any place, anytime he wants to. Day or night, it makes no difference. I've often thought, I remember what Dad always told me. He said, the Lord is looking for long-distance runners. He's not looking for splitters. They run dashers. They'll run 100 yards and then they fall over. He's looking for long, distant runners, patiently waiting for them. As we journey from this pilgrim of this life, he will come. The faith that waits upon the Lord after the transfiguration, after the experience there on the mount, just patiently waiting in faith and the promise of the Lord may not be, he might not come in our lifetime, maybe not, but the promise in him is everlasting. He will surely come. Now, just waiting patiently after the work. He went down with them and came to Nazareth, and he was subject to them. After for the years and years and years, he spent himself in this task of working at a car. You know, the guy that played that piano tuned it. I asked him, I said, what do you think when somebody comes in and just thump, 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 thump on the piano? And they said, boy, can he play it. What do you think? He said, I ain't saying nothing. It takes practice to know those notes. You go over them and over them and over them and over them again. The same old scale. That's the same way with the doctor. Who would want a doctor that just come out of school that don't know anything about your gizzard to cut on you and try to remove your gizzard from you? I don't want one. I want somebody with some experience. That, see, they went through school, they went through internship, they went and watched another doctor perform all those things. They have learned all those things. They've been taught all these things. And see, that's the way we should always remember that. See, these guys were trained for that. The doctor was. It's sort of like you think of the horse racing. Every year you see them horses run. Everybody's picked out a horse that thinks the greatest horse. We all think that Secretary was the greatest horse. Back years and years ago, they used to think the Man of War was the greatest horse. So it's according to when you was born, who you think the greatest horse. But when you put it all together, they didn't run but less than 30 minutes on every track. Usually a race lasted a minute and a half, 2 minutes at the most. He didn't even come close to Secretary on his race. So, you see these things. But what was it? They trained. And they trained. That's the way an athlete does. He gets up and he trains and he trains and he trains all these things. So, same thing. I wish we could stay on the mountain, but we can't. Religion of the Lord, faith in the Lord, is humdrum at times. He wants us to keep on being patient. And that one of our great missionaries, modern day missionary, was Carey. He was a very small man. They said he was less than 5 foot tall, but he was in India. They got a college. He was one of the greatest linguistic. He could write any language he wanted to just about it. He could speak anything. But he was a shoe cobbler. That's what he started out to be. A shoe cobbler. Repaired shoes. And so all these things. He was very small man, but Carey was brilliant. And what he done was beyond belief. It was all patient. He said, if anybody wants to do a story about me, or write my biography, just write that he was very patient in what he done. And I guess that's the way we should be. We should always be patient. We should never, ever, don't expect to be on top of the mountain all the time. It just don't happen. If we was on the mountain all the time, we wouldn't know what was in the valley, would we? have no idea what was down there in the valley. I always think about the peaks of the Bible. See, we see all the peaks of the Bible. That's what it is. We don't see them valleys between the peaks. These great events that took place. We just don't see them. We see what is on the mountaintop and forget what's in the valley. We don't want that. I'm going to quit there. May God bless you.